Will the soundtrack kindly produce a sound? Go on. Don't be nervous. Go ahead. Any sound. Well, that isn't quite what I had in mind.
But just another place where people can like get together and hang out. That's not,
bars are cool,
where
but
everyone's
like
just getting like drunk and whatever.
you don't have
Just
to
a
like
place for people
scream to
socialize.
talk to somebody.
Yeah. Just a chill place,
Yeah.
casual place for people to meet.
A lounge.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
podcast is supposed to be the chill extension, or I guess like origin of that. Like we wanted people to come on here and feel relaxed and feel like they can just be themselves. And it's not like this super formal interview. Like you have to, put on your most professional face ever. But like,
Yeah. The goal of the coffee shop is to connect and learn about other people. So that's pretty much the goal of the podcast as well. It's just to
because I mean, if you think about it, like everyone's differences can be what pulls people apart and causes disunity. And so like if you're up close with someone that you disagree with, you're like, oh wait, you're like a person. Oh my gosh, like you like coffee too. You can relate, and it's just easier it's hard to hate up close. So we can kind of create an atmosphere where people are okay with talking to people of other religions or political views or whatever, then maybe there wouldn't be so much strife around. So that's our ultimate goal. And then just to build community too. We want more friends. We want like cool friends. We want to meet cool people. We want to meet people that are doing cool things. And so podcasts are a great way for that, because if we have a good conversation, that's awesome between us three. But with a podcast now, X amount of other people are going to get to experience that same cool conversation. And so it's a little cliche to start a podcast, I feel like nowadays, but it's one of the best ways to, I think, leverage your influence or time. Yeah, voice. I like the long form because it gives people a chance to understand the person. Because a lot of these issues, or even just accomplishments, are like, it takes a while to understand how you got there in a way. So it's just kind of in a way.
Cool.
Well, are you ready to start? You feel good? You feel like relaxed? Ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we rolling?
Yeah, I'm good.
Nice.
All right.
Didn't even know.
See? It's a soft launch.
Yeah.
Like offshore launch.
Offshore launch.
Which you're the CEO and founder of. Welcome to the Second Floor Experience.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you coming. You are probably the most accomplished person we've ever had on the podcast.
Wow.
Yet humble. You are so personable. I told them before you got here, I said that same thing. And I said, she's like crazy humble too. I think because I had a one-to-one with you, we should just let people have the backstory. We met through BNI. We have a one-to-one, which is just basically like a 30-minute to an hour-long meeting to get to know who you are. And I left that meeting like, I want to talk to that lady more. I want to hear more of her story. And you struck me as like a master networker. And networker is kind of like a weird term. People might think it's cringy, but they also might think it's fine. But I mean that to say that everything that you do is so personable and like, it is intentional. You are so intentional with the things that you do, from giving referrals to sending emails or whatever. And I think that's really contributed to your success. So I wanted to bring this to our audience so they can hear more about how you got to be the Heather Emerson.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a good intro?
You're so sweet. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Well, you've told me that before, and it's like, I feel like, I don't know, like just very flattered. So thank you.
Awesome. I have to just read something real quick. Your about section on your LinkedIn is like a wild start. So I just want to start with that. Accidental entrepreneur creating businesses with impact and intention. Classically trained vocalist performing soul and folk music in true Texas form. What? Recovering celebrity stylist who never turns down an opportunity to get fancy, clearly. Dedicated to changing the stigma associated with incarceration.
Yes, I'm formerly incarcerated.
Okay, this I think is a good place to start.
Yeah. You want the prison story.
I want.
You
all
want to
the
know
stories.
about prison sex.
I want.
That's what we're going into, right?
I
All the
wanna
boys
know.
want to know. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I just had to kind of like, deflect there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
I was in prison for 12 months. It was a federal offense. I was in active duty military, and I used controlled substances while on active duty.
Oh.
I brought my friends off base
Mm.
to get MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy.
Mhm.
One of my friends was wearing a wire, and I got him 10 pills, which in the military means 10 separate offenses. My maximum amount of time was 108 years. That was maximum punishment they could have given me. I was 18 years old because I joined when I was 17. I was terrified.
Oh my gosh.
I told the OSI agent, I'll do whatever you want. I'll tell on all my friends. Please don't kick me out of the military. I totally flipped. And that guilt and shame carried with me longer than the guilt and shame of my decisions. The guilt and shame of ratting my friends out was way harder for me to ever reconcile internally.
Wow.
So I don't know where those people are anymore, but I
Yeah.
just send them so much love. And I just feel so terrible because not only did I ruin my career, but I ruined theirs. And I still went to prison.
That sucks.
So that's the story.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
So wait, how were you able to enlist at 17? Can you
Parental.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your parents signed off on it?
Yeah. I moved out when I was 16. So
Okay.
it wasn't like, didn't have like the best home life.
For sure.
So,
So what made the military like appealing? What was?
Well, first of all, the military preys on people in unstable environments.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's something, you learn as an adult, I talk to people who go to high school in predominantly low income areas. And that also coincides with a lot of Black and brown communities.
Mhm.
The military recruiters are up in there every single week trying to get those kids. You go to a more white school, there's not a lot of recruiters walking through those halls because those kids have stability and financial security and
Wow.
all the things. And so I definitely feel like there's a predatory thing. You can also look at it as a positive. You can look at well, this is a path out of an unfortunate situation. But the reason I call it predatory is because I don't think at 18 you really know how to make good decisions. We call that an adult, and I don't think that most 18-year-olds are really mature enough to sign away their life for 4 to 6 years and go to war. Decide their major in college.
For real. Take on college debt.
I'll take on 20, 50, $100,000 a day. So I just think that there's some things there.
I agree. You're speaking our language, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We feel the same way.
So I was one of the kids who wasn't in the best, home life scenario. And so it was so appealing to me to not have to struggle to make my rent and have a path to free education because, and my father actually did end up helping me with college, after everything. So shout out dad. But, I was really rebellious. And so I was not certain that he was going to do that for me at the time. I was I need to find my own way because I'm on bad terms with my parents, it's just rough times.
For sure.
So, hindsight, I'm man, I wish I just had the skill set to say, I'm sorry, will you help me get on track, Dad? But I didn't. I ran.
So
a lot of kids.
Yeah. Well, so how long? I see you were in the military for a little bit over 5 years or so. Is that right?
So so on paper I was there for 5 years, but I was only active duty for a couple years. and then I went to prison for a year, and then there was like processing time. So
Okay.
you're still considered active duty until all your appeals finish. So on paper, it was 5 years, but like I didn't actually serve 5 years. I mean, I did
Okay,
because
yeah,
on
yeah.
paper I was still owned by them,
Yeah.
but no, I was still on paper active duty while I was going to ACC, like post incarceration.
Okay. So I'm curious, what did going to prison, did that have an effect on you as like a rebellious kid at all, or now an rebellious like young adult essentially, or did you come out just like the same, or did it change you at all?
Yeah, it made me worse.
Really?
Yeah, it was like my program was a new women's prison. They didn't. My facility was a new women's prison. They didn't have a lot of programs, and when you're told every day that you're nothing,
Mm.
you start to believe it.
Mm.
So it's supposed to be a path for rehabilitation, but when you take away all decision-making power from the human, how are they supposed to make better decisions upon release? So for me, it was actually a decline. I couldn't even make eye contact with the airport gate agent because I was scared of people and authority. And so, I mean, I just think some people go and have a great experience. Like they turn their life around. That was not the experience with me. I felt like I was like moving backwards.
Wow.
I feel like your fourth bullet point definitely makes a lot more sense now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say, because it says dedicated to changing the stigma. So what would you say is the stigma currently?
I mean, it's like you go to prison, you kind of have like a mark on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a hard time getting housing, employment. Like I experienced all of that.
Mm.
I can't go to Canada. Who wants to go
I was
there?
just about to say that. I was just about to say that.
I mean,
we love
sorry, I had to
Canadians.
make the dig. I can literally go anywhere but Canada, which is funny. But like just having to go through job interviews and disclose that you were incarcerated is a deal breaker for a lot of employers. And I mean, we go to networking events.
Yeah.
And I went to one group and it was like a private investigator. And she was like going on and on about how you should background check your people and this is why. And I'm like, ooh, man. Ooh, do I want to use my 30 seconds to talk about my business? Or do I want to use my 30 seconds to say, you can hire criminals. I'm one of them, because that's how I feel.
Mm.
But I didn't do that because,
You're a master.
but that was like, that's the real thing.
Mhm.
Right. So I don't know. I also think like, I think it'd be fine to background check if there was some, I don't know, like if society didn't have such a black mark on it. Like
Mhm.
in entrepreneurship, what do we teach? Fail hard, fail fast, fail up. But why can't you do that in your regular life?
Mm.
Why is that not encouraged? Like, why is that's a failure? Okay. Won't do that again.
Mm.
Right. So like,
Yeah.
where is that in the story of employment for people who are formerly incarcerated?
Yeah.
So that's what
Very
I
true.
mean in terms of like changing that stigma.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is great for felons because like, it's like, we welcome all your mistakes. We celebrate mistakes,
Yeah,
right?
that's
It's
very
great.
true.
Literally.
That's very true.
Some of the that's funny you said that. Some of the best entrepreneurs I have ever met, I found out have some kind of history like that.
Yeah,
And I'm
probably
just
can't
like,
get a job.
well, and they're so, I think, yeah, that too, but they're just some of the most driven people.
Yeah.
Also, they're some
Yeah.
of the most understanding and loving people that I have ever met.
Yeah, it'll humble. Prison will humble you for sure.
Hmm.
So
Well, before I want to hear sort of like your story from there. Before that, where this classically trained vocalist thing, how did that happen?
high school,
Okay.
before I dropped out,
Okay.
I was like, it was an outlet for me. Singing was an outlet. I don't sing recently especially since I have my company now. I don't have time, but there was a period of time where I was really pursuing that. And in school, they only train you classically. Like you don't learn you learn like the choir types of,
Okay.
reading music.
Mm.
So, excuse me. Yeah, so that's how I'm classically trained, but country folk is kind of my jam. So,
That is so cool.
So, like, top 3 favorite artists.
okay. So the one that like just gets me right now, oh my God, Casey Musgraves.
Who?
Casey Musgraves.
I don't know.
I know
who
him.
is-
Yeah, I know him.
Her. It's her.
I know her.
So do y'all listen to country music?
I
Yeah.
did for a long time. I haven't as much like lately.
So yeah, and my favorite
But-
country is
but-
like Shane Smith and the Saints.
I don't know this one.
Okay, that's
Is
more
it
like
kinda
rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like rock country, like Red Dirt type.
Mm.
But I've heard of Casey Musgraves.
She just won a bunch of awards. So
Hmm.
yeah, but like, so I like to sing her stuff. So if
Hmm.
you listen to her stuff, I don't think I sound as good as her, but like I can pull it off, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then
Hmm.
you said top 3.
I mean, if you have a top 3.
I'm trying to think, like, who do I like to cover? That's like how I'm trying to answer that question. I don't know. I mean, I can't answer who I like to cover right now because I have a spectrum, but I will tell you, Randy Travis, when I hear his voice,
Mm.
that old deep voice, like,
yeah.
I'm not into, like the real, like there's the real classics, like the Willies and that sort of thing. And like, that's great. That's never like hit it for me.
I would
Except
agree.
when you see Willie Nelson perform, he actually is breathtaking. Have you heard him? Have you heard him perform?
I have not. No.
Oh, he like, probably because he's so old, he just pauses, and you like feel it. It's weird. But yeah, I think people really get into that. I don't really get into it, but when you hear him, you're like, wow, he's really good. But like, George Strait and Garth Brooks, like all of that I grew up on.
Yeah. Okay.
That's before y'all, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
for
not
sure.
your.
A little bit.
Yeah.
What'd y'all grow up on with country?
I grew up in Florida, so like Texas. It's not like as I don't know. Well, a lot of like George Strait, like that Texas country was not. I listened more like Zach Brown Band or Kenny Chesney, or I don't know, people along those lines. I'm a big fan of Dirk Bentley.
Oh yeah, I like him.
Brothers Osborne.
I don't know that person.
Really?
Maybe I know the song, but like I don't know the
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's like
Florida country.
yeah, sure.
Florida country.
Sure. Dude, did you turn your mic on?
Yeah.
Did you turn mine on?
No.
Sweet.
Oh wait, no, I did. Yeah, I thought you meant like. Yeah, no, I started it to record, and it was on too. You just turned
Do
it
you
off.
need to do a mic check?
No,
or
it should
something?
be.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it was on.
Yeah, it was on. I double checked.
Okay,
It's not
good.
lighting up. Is that?
Good.
That one's just dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like brightness.
I don't
on
know
it
why the
is
brightness
low.
is so low.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah, we've had a lot of we've had quite the journey.
Dude.
We're our own producers and editors, so we've had quite the journey
That's so
of
cool.
podcasts.
Y'all are. That's so brave.
We just jumped
I would
right
get
in.
so frustrated with that.
Oh,
it is frustrating.
oh, it's frustrating.
dude.
All right.
To get done with a 2-hour podcast to realize none of the audio is recorded or
Stop
or the
it.
camera cut out like halfway through.
We've learned some hard lessons.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. To get
But
here.
it's okay. It's all
Yeah.
right.
Our ultimate goal is to get to like we'll have maybe a little coffee table here or like mic stands to have the Shure mics, like the ones you see on Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
The arms and stuff, because those are corded, and so they'll go right to basically like a mixer, and so it's much more.
I have a cool one that I can see if you want. It's really nice. But
Really?
yeah, I never used it. I had another. Yeah.
So you got out of prison. You finished. You processed.
That's a country song.
You did. It is. It is. So when you sing country, you're really singing from the heart.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get out and you're kind of like I would imagine sort of reeling just for how do I get my life going again? And you somehow make it to UT. What, like, how does that happen?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good question. Uh, that is so wild that I did that, I will say. Because
so
I didn't
you-
even have a high school diploma. I had
You
a
didn't?
GED.
Okay.
Wow.
And I was like, I went to ACC, and ACC wants to put you in the remedial classes when you don't
Right.
have. So I had to take all these tests to like
Jeez.
not have to, like, to show that like I can do math and I can do. Luckily, I went to school in a small town, but they had an IB program. Do you know what that is? International Baccalaureate
I had
program.
friends who were in it, but like at other schools, but I didn't like really know exactly what it was.
Most
But-
American thing you've ever said. Overseas, the IB program, like it's like international, right? It's like
okay.
it is like when you go to if you have an IB diploma, it's like a big deal. So for some reason, my little bitty school had an IB program. And I wanted to do it, but again, I dropped out of high school, so I didn't finish that. But I think I've always been very ambitious. So I like set my sight on like, okay, I want to go there, right? Like looking up. And I was in like good classes, the GT or honors or whatever in high school. And so, yeah, I mean, I only had a 10th grade education, but I was able to test out of all of the ACC remedial things. And so they let me go to school at ACC.
Okay.
They like actually let me take college credit classes versus like these like catch up classes. And then the next thing on the list was to make a 4.0 because that's the only way you transfer into UT. Well, y'all know about UT, right? Are you're not. Are you
I'm
from
not.
Texas?
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah,
how
my mom went
difficult it is to get in though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom went to UT.
Your mom did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like now. I've heard it's gotten even harder, but like it used to be top 10% could go. Now it's top 8% can go because they just didn't have enough seats for all the top 10% students, high school students in Texas. So they've had to make it harder and harder. And then if you want to transfer in, you have to have just like incredible credentials to transfer in because you have to be on the same level as like these top 8%, high schoolers. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So like, I mean, I think I had like, I don't know, 3.9 or something like that. Like it wasn't like a straight 4.0, but it was really close enough. And yeah, I just eventually applied, and y'all, my dad couldn't believe it. That's the funny part. My dad is a general contractor, so
Yeah.
kind of it. Are you a GC? Are you considered? No, you're
No.
just fencing. Okay.
Yeah.
Some get your GC and do other things,
sure.
and so my dad's a GC for big, big, big projects. So he built Gregory Gym on UT campus. They redid it in like 2005-ish. They did this huge aquatic center. My dad's company did that. So my dad was like, I was like, oh, I applied. And my dad was like, okay, well, let me know if you need me to like call someone. And I was like, remember, I didn't ask my dad for help before. I don't know. It just didn't occur to me. So when he got the letter, he was like, I was like, did you get, I was calling him like every day. Did you get a letter? Did you get a letter? And he opened it and he was like, I can't, he was like, you got in. Like he couldn't believe it. And it was it was like the first time in my life that I did something right.
Wow.
Getting into UT was like the first time in my life that I did something right.
What was that feeling like?
It was really special. And it was really special that my dad was there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So really cool.
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, that's huge, especially
when you've gone like your whole life never accomplishing anything.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And your parents there, it's pretty cool.
To thinking you're nothing, like in prison, to be told that you're not, to believe it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
And then to go to a place that is such a low, except, you have to do so well to get in. It's like you broke that narrative of your life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it was so huge.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I still believed it. I still believed I was nothing. Like that part doesn't go away. So I think that there was like a path of like overachieving because I was trying to use like outside sources to soothe that internal story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people, by the way.
I agree.
I think so
That's
too.
what a lot of
So.
accolades and accomplishments are, is to really convince you that you're worthy,
Mm-hmm.
and you're valuable,
Yeah.
and you're, good enough.
100%.
That's very true.
And then the sucky part is that you'll get to whatever you thought was going to make you feel better, but it doesn't. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, now I got it. Now the goalpost moved again. And so then you can potentially go your whole life achieving things. Everyone thinks you're great, but you don't think you're so great.
Yeah.
And then that's the crux of the achiever, I guess.
100,000%.
Yeah, but I do feel like there is something to being able to look back and be like, okay, I achieved this.
Yes.
Like there is something to that.
Yes.
Very
for
true.
sure. But there's a balance, obviously.
It's your why. Like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
I think is really the determining factor. And
yeah, very true.
And I don't know that everybody can answer that honestly, because we're so, like, even from the time we're in school, you get a little plaque, you get a little ribbon. Like we're trained for that external validation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wonder. It's good. Like, we should celebrate achievements. Celebrate each other. But like, I wonder, what would it be like if that wasn't ingrained in us?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
People
it's
would
like
probably
you're
fall
receiving a reward. I mean, I've always, you always hear, oh, like kids these days, like they just get awarded for everything. It's like that kind of complaint. And I think a lot of us realize that that's not a very good thing for the development of, a person growing up. But that is interesting. Like, I wonder if them just receiving an award, because you're talking about the why, like you have to understand the why, and just receiving an award or something. And maybe most times they don't even know why. And most times maybe they really did. It's like, I didn't really do anything for this.
Have you ever thought about why school systems do that? Have y'all ever?
I've thought about it.
Well, I've thought about it.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your theory? What's your conspiracy theory over there? I'm picking up.
Do you want to go like full tinfoil hat, or do you want to go?
I think that if you just zoom out and you're just looking at the way it's built, it's very clear that certain types of personalities in kids excel, and it makes the other kids feel like they're not good enough. And it seems like the system, especially, is not built for entrepreneurs. It's very much
not. Yeah.
It's very much built to teach you to obey.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
And why are they teaching kids to obey?
Why don't you take this?
How do they benefit from that?
How did they
control, baby?
Really is control. Yeah, the system is designed to just make you another cog in the machine. When you graduate,
though? What's the reason?
I think control. But
what
really,
does control do for them?
Power. It gives them power, and then they can govern your decisions.
They govern your decisions, but what else?
And now I feel like I'm in school.
You are. My teacher hat's on.
We're actually getting there, yes.
I don't know. What else?
You tell us.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's a lot that it does for them, whoever they are.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, right?
There's a series called The Gilded Age. Have y'all seen that on HBO?
No.
Okay,
No.
well, you might not like it. It might be too. I don't know. I liked it a lot, but it's very much like the time in the U.S. when the railroads were being built, and like commerce, and There's this one scene where the railroad, it's getting big. The railroad's getting big. They're stupid wealthy. This is when new money in America happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the railroad owner is one of the main characters. He's like, he's experiencing strikes because his workers aren't getting paid what they want to get paid. And he's like, dealing with all this stuff. And anyways, there's one scene where he says, I don't want a country of thinkers. I want a country of workers. And I think that is like in summary, what our current educational system is set up to do, because it keeps the economy. It's the economy, and that's the power. Like you were talking about power and control, but what is it? It's money.
Yeah, very true.
Like they're not giving us awards in school because they really care. They want they want you to want that external validation. They want you to want that promotion. They want you to work and pay your taxes and build this country.
And then on top of that, you go to college and get thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, only further adding to your
need to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a question on top of that, though, is whoever they are, assuming they're very wealthy, powerful people.
They are.
As soon as you have a certain amount of money, do you think that more money becomes more important or more power and control becomes more important?
That's a great question. I mean, I would say power and influence that's like art. You know how you can look like, oh, this is $100,000 TV because it's art. You know it's like when you have power and influence, you have that art opportunity, like to be involved in a deal, to show up and get paid for an appearance, like. So I think power and influence it trumps money in a lot of ways, because it's just more like, think about there's a book called Small Giants, and it's about companies, businesses that we have never heard of that are like multi-million-dollar companies, no branding, loads of profit because they've done like that very conservative type of business model, but those they can go anywhere. Nobody knows who they are, and but they're dependent on their business, right? But think about someone who's got like millions of followers on Instagram, and how many doors open for them versus the other person, right? The other person has money and security, but so it's you can kind of decide which one's better. You need both, right, to like really make an impact. But there's a lot of small giants, and I actually think that that's what I want. Like, I think, truthfully, I was almost like, do I really want to do this podcast? Like, do I really need any more, like, audience and all of that? Like, I'm like ready to like small giant my life. How freaking cool is that, to just be a billionaire and be able to travel and no one knows who you are, and you don't get
honestly,
like,
I feel that.
Isn't that cool?
Privacy is underrated these days. Everyone wants to be an influencer, but privacy is underrated. Yeah. No, you definitely did us the favor for sure by coming on. We were not going to help you grow that much.
I didn't mean to.
No, I know you don't. I know you.
Rude. I just meant like I had that moment where I'm like, well, what are my goals?
Yeah. It was like, what's my why?
Like, I don't have my website. It's a landing page. Like, my Instagram is private now.
Yeah.
Like, I've done, I did all of that when I had my business before, and lived on social media, and I'm like, nope, I think I'm in a new phase. In the small giant phase. You should read the book, Small Giants.
It's on my list. It just made the list.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So this is very interesting to me.
What's this?
You get into UT, you blaze through 4 years, you graduate with honors, and you do really well there too. And then you become a high school math teacher.
Yep.
That is so interesting to me.
Why?
It just like, because I have the rest of your resume
Yeah.
and I see like what you went on to do. And so just like right off the bat, I mean, I have no idea why. But to me, I just, as I look at this and I see how your life has gone, or just, let me just say your career really, I can almost kind of see your confidence built at every level of like,
Mm.
you really start to create, no, this is Heather, like this is who I am. And I don't know. That's just, why did you become a math teacher?
Well, numbers are safe. Numbers are, this plus this equals this, right? So there was a lot of safety in numbers for me. It always made me feel very good. So I majored in math. That was one of my majors. And it always made me feel very good that there was always an answer.
Hmm.
And growing up in a very like unstable childhood where there's not answers for things that happen, man, numbers were my friend. So it was actually, which is really strange about me because I'm very emotional, I'm very artistic, but numbers gave me safety and it gave me power because hardly anybody in school is good at math.
True.
I was good at math. So it like
Wow.
it was like a safe place for me. And so I remember being like 8 years old and looking up at this construction worker that worked with my dad at his GC firm. And I was like, I'm going to major in math. And this guy was like, all right, kid, whatever, But I remember it. And I remember saying it and meaning it. And so that was like what I did. That was like the thing that I said I was going to do and I did it. But like, what the hell do you do with a math degree?
Yeah.
And like, how do I integrate that into life? And so what I really enjoyed, so UT has this teaching program. They have a traditional teaching program you can go through. I did not go through that. I went through a program called U Teach, and like UT and then Teach. Like it was started at UT, now it's nationwide, and it's a Socratic method teaching. So Socratic method, Socrates asking questions, project-based instruction. So instead of talking at the kids' lessons, you put them in small groups, you ask them questions, they rate themselves, and they have their rubric. They understand what the goal is of the project before they start. They rate themselves, they work in groups. It's very like applicable to life. It's skills that I didn't have in school. And so it very much appealed to me because I'm like, oh, this is how you reach kids. You listen to them, right?
Yeah.
Which we just had that conversation about
Yes.
school
Right,
and
right.
how it never worked for me, but that would work for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Switching it and asking them to think and them to use their hands instead of just sitting at the desk. Like kids are supposed to like be tactile and movement, and
Yeah.
so it very much appealed to me because I thought, well, I believe in that. And I can do that. That's a profession. I can actually be, this is the thing when you exit prison, by the way, a contributing member of society. Don't forget that, contributing member of society. So for me, like I can be a contributing member of society. And I can also hopefully help kids avoid some of the decisions and mistakes that I made.
Wow.
So it was very much a heart space for me. And then I started teaching in public school.
That'll do it.
And then I quit. Okay.
That'll do
And
it.
the end. All right. Next question.
Okay. So
that wasn't really how it ended. I'm happy to share that story, but yeah, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
It really did suck. I was gonna do it because I'm
Yeah.
like hardcore like that.
I was
and I'm
gonna
gonna do the
ask.
hard thing.
Yeah.
But like it was terrible. No, the universe took care of it for
Yeah.
me. I went on a trip called Semester at Sea. Have you heard of Semester at Sea?
I was gonna ask you about that.
Okay,
All I
so
know is from what I read here.
you live on a cruise ship and you study classes while you're on the cruise ship and you go around the world. And every country You don't have classes. You go and travel in each country.
What the heck? Why have I never heard of this?
Yeah, semester
Okay.
at sea. And they do a whole semester. I did a whole summer semester. I didn't do like a fall, spring. So we didn't do the whole, you go around the world. We didn't go around the world. We just went to the, swear to God, we went to the Mediterranean. That's how I know I can't go to Canada, because we started in Canada and I got deported. Another story.
What?
Yeah. So
Holy crap.
Mediterranean, we sailed across the Atlantic into the Mediterranean. And I was on the ship with somebody in a program called Teach for America. Have you all heard for Teach for America?
Yeah, heard of that.
Yeah. So Teach for America is a nonprofit, and their mission is to close the education gap between lower income schools and, you know, very, very privileged neighborhoods. Because we all know that's a thing. Like, there's a difference between the East Side High School and Westlake.
Yeah.
Totally different, right? So their mission is to close that gap. And the way that they do that is they recruit top grads from, honestly, mostly private schools. So a lot of your Ivy Leaguers, and then some state schools. And they place them in failing school districts. So a big one is like the Mississippi Delta. You probably know about this. If you go, like, Mississippi Delta is like, you wouldn't even know you're in America. There's like people who can't, they're like illiterate.
Yeah.
Like, people are,
okay. Yeah.
they, you know, like they can't,
Yes. Yeah, I
can't
know what
read
you
and
mean.
write.
Yeah.
Like,
The
literally-
Bayou.
The Bayou. Yeah, the Bayou. Yeah.
It's what's that show? The Gators.
Which one?
The dudes who hunt the gators and they like barely speak any English.
Yeah, it's
like,
bizarre the way they talk.
Shoot 'em.
Yeah, shoot them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. Yeah. So
Gator Boys. That's what it is. Sorry.
So
Swamp Kid,
imagine
something like
putting
that.
someone who graduated from Yale in the Mississippi Delta.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
imagine that. Imagine the wake up call from that white kid. Like, because it's a white kid. Let's just name it. And so their secondary mission is to expose very privileged people to what's going on in the nation. It's really cool. Graduates go on to get like all kinds of scholarships and grants, and they have partnerships with all these schools. Anyways, it's a really cool program. And I heard that it was harder to get into than Harvard. TFA is very picky. It's called TFA. Very picky. You know, they only want the top people because they're putting them in like really hard.
Yeah.
You know, really, they don't want them. They don't want them to quit. They need the best of the best. And I was like, ooh, challenge, achievement, sign me up.
Yeah.
So the person on the ship, there was a TFA person on the ship. And so when I got back, I applied, except I applied in New York. So that's how I went to New York. I moved there
Oh.
and was placed in Harlem.
Wow.
So I taught school. So I was supposed to teach school in Harlem, and went through the whole boot camp, went through the whole summer designing the curriculum. And then 1 week before school, my background check didn't clear.
Oh
And I lost my job
no.
because of a drug charge from 7 years prior.
Oh my gosh.
So it does follow you. Incarceration does follow you.
Dude.
And
That's the stigma you're
that's
talking
the stigma.
about.
That's the stigma.
Yeah.
So my dreams were deflate, you know, everything
Just-
just kind of like, I was like, I just signed a lease in New York. What am I doing here? In
Oh my
Harlem. I was like
gosh.
living in Harlem. Like, what the am I doing in Harlem?
Yeah.
And ended up loving Harlem, by the way. It was really great, but didn't know that at first, and had to get a job.
Yeah.
So I got a retail job and I hated it. And then I ended up looking for another job, and I got a job working at an Italian fashion house, high-end luxury, and kind of worked my way up to being kind of the celebrity person, the salesperson who serviced the very, very high-end clients.
Yes.
And you know, basically like a kid, like a small town girl in New York going into Upper East Side mansions with like full on staff, like a driver and a butler and a, you know.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is the whole up, like you could throw a rock and hit $1 billion right there. I mean, like, it's like so wealthy, and it's like so not used to what you and I, you know, we just I know that we did not grow up that way. All of
Yeah.
us here sitting here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely
And
not. Yeah.
and
would
I
be
was like,
insane.
okay, wow, you can spend $100,000 shopping. Like, I loved it. I was like, sign me up. And then I realized I want to be on the other side of the counter.
Yeah.
So that was like, eventually I left. It's like, I don't want to be the shop girl. I want to be the buyer. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Well, so I want to point out too that this seems to be like the first time you learn about sales.
Yeah.
It seems like you did like extremely well. You again thrived and achieved your way up through a few different sales careers.
Yeah. Well, I got poached. I was at one and then they poached me. But and I made great money. It was really great. I had expendable income in my 20s in New York City. It was amazing.
So what was that like for you? Was that the first time you really experienced having a lot of money?
That I had made, you know, eventually my dad's company did really well. So, you know, I got to experience like kind of like a solid family financial situation later, like as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But as kids, we were just very like middle class. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my like self-made money. Yeah, it was great. But it was still like, guys, I mean, 6 figures in New York is like just to like that's what you need to survive, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I was making a ton of money, but I was making enough to like do anything I wanted to do, right?
Yeah,
like for the most part, do
for
anything I
sure.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's what I was wondering. Like, did you go like crazy at first, or were you just still very conservative with it?
The way that I was conservative is I put a bunch in my 401k.
Mm.
So I had like, I don't know, like 50 grand within a couple years. I saved 50 grand in my 401k. So that was my conservative.
Okay.
But then in the other ways, like, you know, I shopped and, you know,
splurged a little bit.
I dined, you know, New York's great. It's really great.
Wow.
So I'm still stuck on this semester at sea thing, bro. That's like,
yeah, I know, right?
Like, put me on that now.
You can. It's called Lifetime Learner.
Really?
Swear to God, you can sign up. They have like a whole other deck for
that is so sick.
the seniors. For like there was some old people on our ship. It was funny. But it's cool because most cruise ships only dock for the day, but these dock for days and days. So you can actually go and like
you can spend time.
You can spend time. Yeah. So it is like I want to go back as a lifetime learner for sure.
Yeah.
So look it up, semester at sea.
Dude. I'm gonna mark that down.
Made the list.
Yeah, made the list.
So this is another interesting jump here.
Another one.
Okay. I'm super curious. Resume your success.
Yes.
Is this your first company?
Yes.
Ever? Okay, so this is your jump from doing well in sales, high-end sales to founder, CEO, entrepreneur.
Yes.
But you're in New York City still, right?
Kind of.
Moved out of the city a little bit?
So I got poached from that job and I was like so unhappy at my new job. I realized that the reason that I never had any formal sales training. All sales is people, right?
Yeah.
And I like loved connecting with people and I was mostly helping women. So it was like really great. So I'm actually not a good salesperson, which is funny. Discovering that
What?
now. Yeah, like I'm great with people, but like a good salesperson has like really, really good processes in place. And like I don't have any of that. And I'm realizing that like for what we do now, my company does, like that is a key. That's key. Like you're guiding a business owner on a commitment. Mm-hmm. You need to have like a consultative, process. And so I'm very much like in school again for sales. What I realize is that I'm really great with people, and that's kind of like why you call me a great networker.
Yes,
it's just that like I genuinely want to know your story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about the super. I mean, I like super. We can talk about the superficial stuff, but like, what's behind that? That's
Yes.
really what I want to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what made me good in that career, was that people, I think, appreciated that I genuinely cared. So moved to a new company, was miserable. We've all done that. I think we've all done that. Realized that what was really making me happy was the people that I worked with. And the new place, like I had friends, but it just didn't, something was off. And I think I was changing. And I started getting very depressed. It was weird, like, because I didn't feel depressed. It's like, I have this great life, I have friends, but I would be crying. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I didn't know what was going on with me. And I was just changing, right? And I met this woman, and she's a life coach. And I like went to her office, and like, she's like, why are you here? And I was like, because I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I started crying. And she's like, okay, well, what do you want to do with your life? Like, just think. And I was like, I want to save animals. I was just crying. I was like, I want to save animals. It's funny. That's really what I said.
That's awesome.
And, sorry. I hope I didn't just mess up that.
No.
So anyways, I hired her. And life coaches are expensive. And I was like, I can't believe I'm about to spend thousands of dollars on this lady. It's unregulated. There's no credentials. It's all like, there's a lot of trust there. So hired her, and not all of them are the same. But I knew that this lady was really good, and I could feel it. It's the intuitive thing. So anyways, I hired her. And so I hired her in January of 2015. And by May 2015, so within, well, it was like 4 months, the end of April, I had quit my job. I'd quit that job that I didn't like. But you asked me a question. Wait, you asked me a question. Resume your success. She asked me, I told her one day that I was like helping my friend with their resume. I was like, oh, I can. I'm helping my friend with their resume. She's like, what do you mean you're helping your friend with their resume? I'm like, well, I'm the resume girl. Like, I help people with the resumes. Like, people don't know how to like make it look good, but I know how to do that. Why do I know how to do that? Because I had to make my resume look really good, because I'm a felon. Right? So like, I'm like, let me show you how you present. Right? So that's what I would do with my friends. And she's like, you should start a business. And I was like, yeah, right. But anyways, I did. And yeah, it was amazing. I was like, oh my God, I can literally take my laptop anywhere I want and make money. And that's why I backpacked. I left New York and I backpacked for 7 months.
Wow.
And I did my business. And y'all, there's like, if you go backpacking, have y'all been backpacking?
I have not.
You lived in a van.
I went in Colorado, but not overseas.
Oh, okay. But there's like communities of online people, like expats, over in random countries. Southeast Asia is very popular because it's inexpensive to live there. You can live like a king for $1,000 a month in Southeast Asia. So, they go over there and they start their business. And so I'm like, oh my God, like I can just do this. And so it was that was my my, intro into entrepreneurship, with like being the resume girl and backpacking and realizing that like I made significantly less money than I did in New York, but I had freedom, I had adventure, and I was like building something for myself, which felt very good.
Yeah.
Let's not just breeze over the fact that you just started a company and you started making money, because so many people start companies that don't make money.
Okay. Well, let me listen. That
You just said like it's no big deal.
Wait. Okay, but wait. There's more to that story that I need to share.
Okay.
It would be dishonest for me to say that was solely the way I supported myself. I also had an apartment in New York City before all the Airbnb laws. Okay. So I made enough money to pay my rent and profited off my apartment in New York while I backpacked.
So
Wow.
So
was that when Airbnb was a thing? Was that like
Yeah.
early Airbnb?
well, yeah, it was earlier. It was like 2015. So the regulations hadn't like hit yet the
Mhm.
way that they like now it's illegal in New York unless it's over 30 days. Back then it wasn't. So yeah, I did that. And every place that I backpacked, I worked at the hostel. So I got free room and board.
Oh, wow.
So I had free room and board. I had income from my Airbnb and I was building my business. And yes, I did resumes, but it wasn't like enough. Like there were other factors. So yeah, y'all should, if you ever want to backpack, email hostels. Like ask them if they need someone to work their front desk for 20 hours a week. The answer is yes, they do. And you get a bed.
Wow. Travel hacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you started your resume your success
Mhm.
business. So you said you traveled for 7 months.
hmm
What made you want to come back?
I did not want to come back.
Oh,
Once
okay.
again, the universe decided for me. Like,
Okay.
the universe took my teaching job away. The universe also made me come back. There's a little something called dengue fever that we don't really have here in the US, but it's very prevalent in swampy areas. So I got dengue fever. It means like, or the nickname for it is breakbone fever, if that gives you any indication of how painful it is.
What?
But I had traveler's insurance. Always get traveler's insurance. Buy the traveler's insurance. Buy the good one, like $100 a month or whatever it is, $200 a month. Buy it. And I got like a flight back to the States and, you know, medical care and everything. Because it's really sad to be in the hospital alone in a different country.
Yeah.
That's
I
terrible.
bet.
And
I
in
can't
pain.
imagine.
And just like a little nervous about the medical situation. I mean, it was good. But it was like, it's going to be better in the
Yeah.
US, right? So
Yeah.
What all countries did you go to?
I did Israel for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah. Which is like the best kept secret in the world. I know it's a little, hard to talk about that right now because there's a
Yeah.
war, but it's beautiful. The
Mhm.
people are amazing. The food is incredible. And I was there when like there were like bombers and stuff. Because that's like how it is, right? It's like how
Yeah.
people don't want
Yeah.
to travel here because school shootings.
Yeah.
It's the same over there, just with like someone gets on a bus or that's not true. That happened while I was there. But I wouldn't say that's common, but like missiles coming in. Like
Yeah.
that is normal. That is their way of life. Like they have to deal with that. But like nothing stops. The way that we don't stop when there's a school shooting,
Yeah.
right? It's the same
That's
thing.
crazy.
So just think about it that way. The media really blows. Like some people are scared to come here because of the school shootings. They're scared
True.
to come to America
Yeah, true.
because they've never seen a gun. Like they don't have guns there,
Yeah.
right? So it's weird to them. That's how it is for us over there. Like we've never experienced bombing like that. Like they have it figured out. Like they're literally a tiny country surrounded by enemies. So like they have it figured out.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommend going there.
Is that where you first went?
Yeah. Well, I was supposed to only go for a weekend and I was like, I'm not leaving this place. This is amazing. I was in Tel Aviv, right on the beach. Oh, the
Wow.
food, y'all. The food. Like yeah. So stayed there for 3 months. And I went a little bit of Europe, Romania, Germany, Thailand for 3 months. And then I was going to do India for 3 months, but that's when I got dengue fever. So did not do
Dang.
India for 3 months.
Gosh. Yeah, dude.
We're really jealous of that.
Yeah, we are. I want to travel.
Jealous
dude.
of traveling?
Yeah.
Can you not travel now?
I mean, we could.
Could. Is it wise? Is it the right move right now? Probably not.
I think about that. Like, my thing is, I would love to travel, because you do, obviously, like, you learn so much just from different cultures, experiences, whatever. But at the same time, it's hard because I feel like I'm in a state of my life where I'm just in like this grind mode. Like, I just gotta grind through my 20s so that I can achieve that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but then like I said, like there is the value in traveling, of learning all those new things, and what it's like the thing, what would I learn from doing that? So, but then I just end up grinding, just working. I feel like I'm just in a state where I have to work as hard as I possibly can. I don't know.
How old are
I've-
you?
25.
25?
Yeah.
23.
23. So I went backpacking at 32.
Okay.
31. Was it 31? 2016. I turned 40 this year. Yeah. So 2015. Yeah, it was 31. So, outside of maybe having kids, like that might not work, right? But
Yeah.
actually, I did see people with babies backpacking. Don't know if I recommend
Dude,
that,
that
but
is impressive.
I saw it. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Dang.
Yeah, like just a little nomadic family. But no, like I agree. I understand, because it's like you want to build the confidence in yourself, right? Like these are the
Yeah.
years. And what you do
Yeah.
in your 20s is so important. So,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I
Well-
definitely think that's, smart, but you'll know when what you're doing right now isn't working anymore,
Mm.
and it's an option.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Yeah.
happened for me, right? I had this great career, and then all of a sudden I'm crying in New York City on my birthday. What is that?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I got to change, something's got to change. My birthday's in April. By the end of April, I had quit and left.
Why do you think your 20s are so important?
Well, I think it's like, you told me that your audience is mainly 20 and your people in your 20s. And I thought, okay, what you asked, like, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And, I think that if you don't accomplish or like have some sort of outcome that provides inner confidence in you, I think it is very easy to feel like you're behind, or feel like you're a failure, or feel like insecurity.
Yeah.
So I definitely think 20s are the time to grind it out. But if it's not working for you, take a break. It's 7 months.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine, right? You
Mhm.
can always return. You won't be the same person. You can always return. So that's what I would say is like, yeah, do whatever you have to do to feel confident. I didn't have that luxury where I was like, I'm so confident now I'm going to go travel. No, I was broken. I had to do something different. So that's kind of the reason that I went out and traveled.
Yeah.
I
I
needed
think that's
to
a really good distinction.
Yeah, I
Well,
needed
yeah.
to like get refocused.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Kevin.
Kevin had a
Yeah.
very similar
Story.
Yeah, one of the guests we had on, I think it was our last guest before Sam and them, but he had a very similar experience where he was just kind of like in the dumps. I think he didn't have a job.
He just got
Right.
he had just gotten
Yeah,
laid
he just
off.
got laid off. So then, and he just decided to go to Costa Rica.
South America somewhere.
South America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some of his friends, and he was actually taking interviews from hostels.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
literally landed the job that he has now from a hostel. And I told him, I asked him this question. I was like, do you think, because he said he was really down in the dump, like he was really freaking out, super anxious in his
Yeah.
apartment in Austin. Like his dad was kind of breathing down his neck, like, you need a job, you need a job. And he was like, I'm just gonna go. Like he just went with his buddies. And I said, do you think that like the energy you had because you went and you were having all these awesome experiences, do you think that contributed to you landing that interview? And he was like, I haven't thought about that before, but yeah, I think it did. Because I think that there's an energy exchange of when you decide to do something that risky, you're kind of like, you're shaken up a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think a good way. And so it was my theory that he actually got that job because they just felt that through Zoom or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like his headspace.
Yes.
His headspace in the anxiety place versus his headspace in the travel place, probably very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that made him a more desirable candidate, right?
Exactly.
So you got to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His hiring manager literally had written, he asked him after they hired him, he had literally written no brainer, like shoe in for the position. So
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like a lot of times my fear is kind of like what we talked about earlier. It's just like, not necessarily that like my life is a waste, maybe, but it's really that I will just become like a cog in the machine. You know, like I will just like, that's like that's what fuels me to like, to work as hard as I possibly can because I don't want to become that. Or I guess I want to break free from that, if that makes sense.
What is
But
a cog? If you're a cog, like what does that mean? Like what would that mean for your life if you were just a cog?
I guess just like doing a job, working a job like till I'm 65, 70, and never actually pursuing something that I want to pursue, I guess. But I feel like we're doing this. We're pursuing a bigger dream, right? But that is that's what fuels me. It's like I get afraid that if this doesn't work out, I'll just be another cog. Like I'm gonna be a zombie just working my life away at a job I don't care for.
Because you have to
But
pay the bills. Is that like just
yeah,
that's
I
how
guess
you would end up in that groove, is just because, oh, I have bills to pay, so I got to do this thing?
yeah, and it's like I'm not actually doing anything that I'm truly passionate about, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
I think you do know.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the current right now, getting close to current. So you're a board member for Truth Be Told, which makes sense now. It says it provides transformational programs through self-discovery for women who are or have been incarcerated, resulting in increased self-worth, accountability, and positive contributions to society. So were you still running your business and doing this at the same time? Or how did that work?
Yeah, so I attended an influencer event. So I had Prep to Your Door at this time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Prep to Your Door, I
you
came
did.
back with dengue fever and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life and was sad. I wanted to go back out and travel. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to start grad school because that's what you do when you don't want to know what you want to do with your life.
So this is crazy too. Keep going.
So I took a summer class at Harvard. I was like, I'm just going to like take a summer class, and if I like it, I'll apply for the program. So you can do that at Harvard. You can take summer classes if you want. And I was really excited, and I needed that because I was so pissed that I came back from my travels. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be here in the States. Like, I don't want to be out there. But I got excited about Harvard because it's like the little girl inside of me, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Harvard. So, first day of my class, I met my husband. So,
Wow.
yeah. So first class. And obviously that changed my entire life trajectory. My husband he's never had a job. He's been an entrepreneur since he was like 14 or something. He used to watch like 2 things on YouTube, anything on business and entrepreneurship, and bodybuilding and protein shakes and all the little boy things that y'all do. The like posing in the mirror and all that, right? So, anyway, so he has always been an entrepreneur, and we became friends, and then we became more than friends, and we started Prep to Your Door. So while I was building Prep to Your Door, which was a healthy meal company based in Austin. We served Houston and Austin. We were about to launch Dallas and San Antonio right before our closure in December of 2022. So we started this business, and I had to fly. We started it in Austin. I had to fly back and forth to Boston to finish my grad school program at Harvard. So that was
Wow.
kind of going on. And I went to an influencer event for Prep to Your Door. And I don't know why, but I decided at that event, I was asked to speak. And I decided at that event, I was going to announce to the world for the very first time that I was incarcerated. I had never told a soul.
No way.
Never told a soul.
No way.
A big puddle of tears on that stage. I'm so embarrassed that I did that, by the way. But it was like, it was like a lot of oversharing, a lot of like, probably made everybody uncomfortable, to be honest. So
That sounds super
don't
courageous.
do
honestly.
that. If you ever want to talk about your problems, don't do it on stage at an influencer event. Anyways, but that kind of like, I think everybody was like, whoa. Like, I think as many people as I made uncomfortable, there were people who leaned into me. And so that kind of led me down the path of like getting into this incarceration space and getting into like community involvement. And I took a class where I learned about nonprofits and how to be a board member, and was asked to join the board of Truth Be Told. So I did that, and I actually stepped away from Prep to Your Door for a few months to run the organization as the executive director.
Wow.
And and it was so rewarding, because they are there to help women who are currently incarcerated or out. Once they're out, we actually hired somebody from that who had graduated that program while she was in prison for 10 years for murder. And we hired her at Prep to Your Door. She was one of the best employees we ever had. So it was just like a lot of full circle. What's that?
She killed it.
She killed it.
Sorry.
You
Sorry,
couldn't.
I couldn't let that one
couldn't
slide.
resist. No, that
I
was
couldn't
good.
let that one slide.
That was good. She killed it. She's awesome. And I recommend everybody out there listening, like, hire a criminal. Like, that whole thing about not hiring a criminal, that's such BS. Like, you can be amazingly surprised by who you hire, who's ready to do something different with their life, ready to be like ready to go at life hard in a way that they've never been able to, right?
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed being a part of that organization. I tried to I did the thing that I do, which is like, I went in hard. I actually raised more money in those 3 months than the organization had ever raised in 20 years of existence.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I did it. I through every single contact, we raised like one dinner, 150 grand. And then I started making the board very uncomfortable, because I was like trying to implement all these changes and use all my entrepreneurial skills. And I'm ready to take this nationwide. Like, we need to help women. Like, it was like all of the trauma inside of me was like being healed, right? Through this work. So I was like came in hot, and ended up parting ways with the organization under less than positive, circumstances, because
They're a little threatened by your intensity.
yeah. I mean, I learned that you have to have buy-in. You have to have democratic buy-in to make moves like that from an organization that's been around for so long. So, also, they were totally f***ed up. Like, they were totally f***ed up about it. Like, I'm not saying they didn't do anything wrong, but like, my part in it was like, I learned that, okay, as a leader, we need to make sure that we have everybody's vote. And
Dang,
so
that's a crazy lesson.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I left. I went back to Prep to Your Door, and that I just wanted to address
No,
that.
yeah,
It's on
sorry,
my
I kind of accidentally jumped ahead, but I wanted to just circle back for a second and say that's crazy that you met your husband the first class, and I'm curious. Uh, One, did you ever think that? Did you ever want to get married? And two, what was dating like for you in like New York City, up and into your like backpacking and all that good stuff? Like you're becoming pretty successful. Most of the time, people find uh, like a partner or a mate during then, but it's interesting to me that you met your husband after you came back from backpacking.
yeah. I know I was looking for my person for a long time.
Okay.
Like I was absolutely like ready.
Mm.
And
Really?
yeah, I was choosing, when you don't believe that you're valuable and worthy, you choose partners that don't believe you're valuable and worthy. So, that's what I was doing essentially. I was definitely like, didn't realize it, but yeah, I was like definitely attracting people who didn't respect me.
Wow.
So, and I think dating in New York is very hard. And backpacking is certainly, it's not really where you
Some
meet the
weirdos out
person you're
there.
going to settle down with,
Yeah.
So, it was a good timing. It was like perfect timing. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
And he sounds like, of course, sounds like he matches your entrepreneurial zeal.
Oh, he
Very
doesn't match
well.
it. He
Excuse
exceeds it. He's like way on another level compared to me.
So was he pretty involved with Founder?
Oh yeah, we founded Prep to Your Door together.
Yeah, Prep to Your Door.
Oh yeah, he was the CEO.
Okay.
He's the business mind, right? I was the founder. I only can do what I do now with Offshore Launch because I was co-leading with him for 6 years. I learned a lot
see.
from him.
I
I didn't
see.
know anything about leadership, y'all.
Really?
No.
Because to me,
I'm really
sitting
good
here,
at
you seem
doing what I know how to do.
okay.
That doesn't make you a good leader.
Right.
Another book, E-Myth. Have y'all read E-Myth?
Oh, so good.
I've
I
not
read the
read that one.
e-visited version.
Okay. Technician,
Yes.
manager, entrepreneur.
Yes. What are you?
I'm a f***ing technician, dude. I'm the problem.
Wow.
And that's why I can help businesses now find virtual assistants.
That's so
because
cool.
I'm like, I know what you don't want to let go of.
I
I don't want to let go of that either.
I am a terrible technician.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Are you a manager?
I think so.
Yeah. You're good with people. I
Think
peg you as
so?
a manager.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you need to put on your entrepreneur hat, right? For
So-
growth.
I would say actually like naturally I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm.
I really enjoy like the vision. If I could just do the vision part and never have to like talk to a person and get them to be managed ever, I'd be like, this is awesome.
Oh, okay.
So
you're an
I've had
entrepreneur.
yes, but I've had to like step into the it's been opposite for me. Most technicians most people go from technician to entrepreneur to manager, kind of like that. I went the other way. Like I was like, oh, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. And so I was like, dang, I got to figure out something that I can even bring value with first. And so I had to kind of become a technician. And then I had to realize that you need more people to scale. So you got to like be a people person. And I enjoy people just like you. And so right now in my current phase, I'm having to be much more the manager and a little bit of the entrepreneur right now.
Okay.
So I'm learning to be a good manager in my space right now, for sure.
Cool.
So, but that's so interesting that you like, that makes so much sense why you're so detailed, because you're such a good technician.
I'm not detailed. I'm ambitious.
Mm.
I have a strong figure it outer
Yeah.
in me. I'm not detailed though.
Well, you're not detail oriented, but you are detailed.
Yeah. I'm
Like-
well, because I'm like, I have high standards.
Yes.
That's what it
Yes.
is. So it's
Hmm.
like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it.
Yes.
There's other people that are like, they do it with so much joy.
Mm.
That's not me.
Wow.
I do it with like a chip on my shoulder.
Wow.
I bulldoze.
So, okay, that makes so much sense now that when you were with Prep to Your Door, you really learned how to basically be what would be technically under like right under a CEO in terms of like the C-suite. Do you know?
COO.
Okay, yeah. So it seems like you were in a COO role of like, my husband, he's got the vision. I'm kind of like learning how to do all the businessy parts in between. Is that true?
I think that we were, you know, kind of kids in a way with Prep to Your Door. So, you know, he was definitely CEO because he knew how to make decisions and lead, period, and vision. But in terms of like we just had to plug in, like it was a shit show, right? Like food and deliveries and technology. And like,
It's crazy.
it was like 3 different businesses in
Yeah.
one. We were a manufacturer, food manufacturer. We were e-commerce, and we were fulfillment. We were delivery service.
It's crazy.
So we had 3 different businesses. And so it was always just like plugging a hole so we don't sink. And so I would not say that like I was the COO. I think like in certain moments we were co-CEOs because I had all the food knowledge, right? Like
Okay.
he didn't have any of that. So he's like you. He's always been vision, but he's like, I don't have a skill. So like, and he would say that, like, I'm not saying that, behind his
Yeah.
back. He's like, I have to learn a skill. So his 20s were like, I have to learn a skill. Those were his 20s, like dedicating, to that. And so his skill that he learned was people management and organization and leading meetings, and like
Yeah.
he really, really learned how to do all of that through
Wow.
Prep to Your Door. Me, I had a skill, I had no leadership, and so, but I had all this knowledge about, subject matter expert, if you will,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So like you probably experienced that with fencing.
Mhm.
Like there are times where you're like, I don't know anything about this. You have to lean on somebody else for that.
Yeah,
Maybe not now because you probably know it now, but at certain points.
for sure.
So those are the moments when you're like, we would co-lead, but ultimately he was always, the default person in terms of decisions.
I have a little like niche question in that
Yeah.
is, how do I phrase this? It seems like you didn't mind him being in a leadership role. Like, it's interesting to me that you are so comfortable with just letting him lead. And I've noticed that sometimes in our society, women would much rather prefer to have like all the control sometimes. And so being your personality of so ambitious, was that easy for you? You're just like, yeah, let him lead. Like,
Well,
do it.
well, it's not easy for me to let anybody lead.
Okay.
I'm a control freak,
Okay.
but I chose a partner who was better than me.
Mm,
It's like when you know what you know, like, it's like, that's a spade. Like you got to go, like, so I chose a partner that inspired me. So I trust in his leadership. And he probably doesn't like that pressure sometimes, right? Because that can be lonely. But no, I picked a partner to make me better.
But you have the self-awareness to understand that. I think that there's a lot of people that don't have that self-awareness. And so therefore they have a hard time trusting.
Yeah, it's like a struggle, you mean?
Yes. So I think it's only because you have the self-awareness to even say that statement in the first place that unlocked sort of this working
maybe.
relationship.
And I'm also really, I think maybe self-awareness, or maybe just really hard on myself.
Okay.
Like, oh, that's a blind spot for me. And he gets on to me because he's like, don't say you're bad at that. Because I'll say I'm bad at that. Like I'm not detailed, right?
Yeah.
He's like, don't say that. He's like, it's just, it's like he's a eternal optimist. So he's like, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
You're getting close.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
I think I just know, like, yeah, I guess you could say self-awareness, or I don't know. I guess so. Yeah. It's interesting.
Do you think you would have married him if you saw him when you were 22 instead of 32?
I don't think I would have been able to connect with him at that age. So he's younger than me. He's 9 years younger than me. He's an old soul, so it's kind of weird.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I was 32 and he was 23, which is, sounds like so creepy. But if you met him,
Yeah.
you would understand.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't. Yeah, I like when people break the stigmas because it's frustrating when people just put it in a box of like, this would never work.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
very
for
clearly
sure.
this is working.
Yeah.
Like you guys built a whole business together.
Oh my God. Okay. Don't ever do that. Don't ever build a business with your partner. Like it can truly break your relationship. And it kind of did in a lot of ways. We had to like rebuild, and it was a lot. So yeah, entrepreneurship is so much a journey of self-improvement
It is.
and self-discovery and self-awareness. That's what's so cool about it to me.
Yeah.
When you talk about being a cog, like you just go to a job and you're like, I think that one of the reasons that's so, what's the word? Like daunting, that sounds so daunting to me as well, is that it feels like you're never really growing.
Right. Yeah.
That is almost more scary, or
Yes. That's what it
that's
is.
the thing,
It's
right?
like you're always just going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Or just an order taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you could find a company where the culture was such that they grew you, y'all, that's what businesses used to be.
Right. Yeah.
There's still some like that, especially in tech companies where they have all this money to like do employee engagement and all of that.
Yeah.
But like you used to not have college. You used to get a job and learn like a technical skill on like how to fix cameras or how to fix, like they would train you.
Yeah.
There is not on the job training anymore.
Yeah.
They
That's so
rely
true.
on,
Well, you would learn real skills.
yes.
Yeah. Instead of just learning like, okay, click this button, click that button, click this button.
Yeah.
And like,
that right there, I think is like one of the shifts we've made in the country that I think is to our detriment. Companies rely on people to already have the skills.
Dang.
It's like it's an entry-level role, but we want you to have experience. It's like, wait, what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's
That's what
going
our
on?
generation finds. It's like, wait, okay, you want me to go to college? Let me get a 4-year degree, get in all this debt, or at least some debt, and then come out and I need 2 years experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Gosh, it's
Super
so
fun.
true.
So glad that I listened to all these wise adults.
So I think being a cog used to be semi-fulfilling because the company had the responsibility of growing you. There wasn't internet. We didn't have information at our fingertips. Like they were the way in which you were going to grow.
Yeah.
That was their job.
Right. And it seems like a lot of times you could live well with it. Like
buy a house for 40 grand.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was just
Support a family of
joking with
6.
Zach, like before you got here, just casually joking, like, yeah, I'm working my life away and my money's losing its value. It's like, that's like the reality of our world. So it just adds on to the pressure of people our age. It's like, we're working so hard the people that are trying to work, right? But then on top of that, it's like, okay, you need to learn investing so your money's not losing value. You need to learn, like, it's just like there's so much stuff that it's hard to like filter through and find the right path, it feels like.
Yeah, I think a big detriment of our generation right now is we both are victims and we are being victims at times.
Yeah.
And that's the problem where it's like we'll blame our circumstances, which kind of sucks sometimes. And it sucks that you have to work so hard to buy a house right now. Like it just sucks. And on the flip side, we sometimes have a victim mentality, and both are terrible.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, even if your economic situation is poor, try to grow yourself. At least that's what I tell myself. And it's like, just wait for your opportunity, be diligent, be wise, don't make
Yeah.
excuses. But call it what it is. Like, it's hard right now. It's
Yeah.
hard as a young person
That
to figure that
I
out.
see a lot of videos now of people making comparisons.
Yeah.
Like people our age, like, oh, it was so much easier for them back then, and like it's so much harder for them now. So they get angry at boomers for harping on us for being lazy and all this stuff. But it's like what you said. It's like even if it is harder for us, then that's just the reality. Like you have
It's
to
just, yeah,
you have to be a go-getter. You have to put in the work. So
it's the human experience
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. What'd you say?
Wait, sorry. Wait, I guess I didn't hear what you said.
I
Right?
said that is the human experience
Oh,
right
I
now.
thought you said I'm thinking of an experience right now.
Oh, no. That
Yeah.
is the human experience.
Yeah.
Is that it's really hard. But
Yeah.
I made this distinction in the last 12 months that like it is easier to become wealthy. We are at a time when it's easier than ever to build wealth, but it's harder than ever to just live like a middle class life.
Yeah.
So like right after the war, like 40s to like 80s pretty much, it was like this decades long of like you could just work even a minimum wage job and like you could live on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could just live,
Yeah.
right? And but to get to like that super wealthy Silicon Valley Rockefeller wealth, that was like you're not going to do that. You're just gonna,
Yeah.
you're just going to
Yeah.
work at the
Yeah.
coffee shop or whatever. And I guess they didn't have coffee shops then. Whatever they had then.
Some like factory
Yeah.
or diner or
Diner, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Now it's so easy to, like be an influencer or buy crypto. I'm just laughing because it's just, I know some people have done that. I don't know anything about it. Whatever it is, it's like you have things to do that you can.
There's more vehicles.
There's vehicles, there's pathways, easier than ever to get there comparatively. But it is so hard to just live a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
That part is hard.
It's a good distinction.
So
It is good to see.
I've heard like a little bit more of an expanded version of that where it's like it's easier than ever to be a billionaire but harder to be a millionaire, which is kind of like it's a similar thing to what you're saying but not exactly. It's the same concept, I think. Even though there are more millionaires now than ever. But yeah, that's interesting.
Dude, that was what rocked me. Like coming out of college, because I graduated in 2020, and right at the height of COVID, and so like I never walked for graduation or anything. And that summer, I lived in literally a shed of one of our friends' backyard. But that was when my like I don't know, just I had a lot of time where you're just like sitting around because there's not a lot going on in the world, and so I'll just see all these ways that people are making money online, and then I read the fact that they said that like 1,000 people a day. Yeah, I think it was every day 1,000 people become a millionaire, and I was just like, what the heck? Like 1,000 people every single day? I was like, well, I mean, 1,000 people a day, like I could be one of those people. Like it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, that's like a mindset shift.
It's just a mindset shift. Yeah, yeah.
The flip side of that, though, is that now more than ever, you're having other people's success thrown in your face.
Yes. Yeah.
So reminding you of if you're not where you want to be, that you're not there yet.
Yeah, but then also you see all the success and not the work that they put in to get there.
Yes.
And so that's
Dude.
why it can make it even more frustrating. But
True.
I just realized it just made me realize that like, okay, like that is actually attainable if I'm willing to put in the work,
Well, I want to value your time. We've been kind of going a little bit long, but if you could conclude with what happened to your food prep company, and then how did you pivot to Offshore Launch, which is your company right now, and give people just kind of an idea of what that is.
So, recovering control freak, And also the food business was all about local. So we only delivered local, no shipping, bad for the environment, shipping food's bad, reducing food miles. We were a zero waste company, glass containers picked up every week, washed, sanitized, the whole
Whoa.
thing.
Dang.
Very, very intensive
Whoa.
operation. And we were $1 million company in year 3.
Wow.
So, I mean, we blew up rather quickly because we were so mission based. We had relationships with farms across the state, all organic, like all the things. So, between COVID and, well, let me tell you one more fact. The best, the highest, the most successful restaurants and food businesses that you know, do you know what their average profit margin is? Guess. Most successful.
10%.
What's your guess?
8.
3. 3% profit.
Net.
Yeah. Yeah. Net.
Are you talking like McDonald's and like
No, you mean like high end.
or
yeah, more high end.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what fast food. I think fast food is its own category. I'm talking about more of a restaurant because it's more operationally intensive and experiential and
So like
all
an
that.
Olive Garden
Mm,
or
I
more
don't know.
or like
I feel like you're
or
well,
higher than that.
Well,
like
in my head, you're kind of talking about like a local sort of like.
Oh, no, I'm not necessarily talking about local. I mean, it can be franchised. You know, you're asking good questions. You're asking more about like where did this data come from, right?
mhm.
But if you're a restaurant owner, I've talked to other restaurant owners and food business owners, like CPG companies. That's normal. Like to ever hit a 10% margin is like a dream. Okay, so between COVID and having a very low margin business, we were kind of like forced to look at, you know, what would it look like to hire someone remotely? If we're going to hire somebody remotely in the States, what's the difference of hiring someone overseas? So we started with like a part-time person, and then we loved it and built it up and all the things. So by the time in our final year, we had 15 people approximately overseas for our team. And that was like customer service, accounting, our whole marketing team, operations, technical, like we had a team. And it was so refreshing to hire someone at the rate that we were hiring them and then work so hard, you know, because it was such a switch from hiring locally and paying really well. Like we were paying, you know, $15 to $25 an hour, depending on your role, which is, you know, this was back in 2020. That was like, now that's not very good, right? But back then that was like you could live in Austin on that. 2020 and changed housing prices everywhere, right? So like, it's not the same anymore, but like we were paying what we thought was like, you know, really good for the industry. Not what we thought it was really good for the industry. And we were still getting people who were like, honestly, not very hardworking and super ungrateful. So it just was such a feeling. It was like such a refreshing feeling to find someone overseas who was like so grateful for these pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And so we went all in, and I spearheaded that as a cost savings method. And basically anybody who wasn't touching the food, delivering the food, or part of our leadership team was offshore. And we predominantly, the only place we ever hired out was the Philippines, which I think a lot of people, that's their go-to as well. But in our final year, you know, I returned from the nonprofit and this is part of the story. So I came back from the nonprofit and the team had hired people without me overseas and they were terrible. And I was like, oh no, we're firing them. And we replaced them. And the team was like, oh my God, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. How do you make friends? Like, it's just people, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, that's my skill set, right? Intuition, people connection. I'm hyper vigilant. So like, I can read between lines and like devil in the details, right? I can kind of sort through the bullshit for the most part. So I'm really good at finding good people, even though they're across the world. So I started helping my friends, kind of like I was the resume girl. I started helping my friends for free find VAs. Like, I can help you. And, you know, really and I started to like play around with, what if I charged for this? And it never really landed. Like I never really heard like, yeah, you could charge for this. It was more just like, sure, you know, it was just like, sure. Anyways, in our final year, we made a tech decision. Our growth plummeted, like literally Google Analytics dropped 50%.
What?
Because of a tech decision we made. We switched platforms. Terrible decision.
Wow.
Wait, I gotta ask. Google
Yeah.
Analytics, like you mean like your SEO and your Google business listing?
Like the traffic on our site dropped 50% the day we switched to that platform.
What?
Holy
Because
cow.
they flagged you or something? They must have
They
seen
didn't
it.
do something they were supposed to do.
Whoa.
That's for sure what happened. And I have confirmation from that later, and I'll get there. But anyways, we started burning cash. And we were like, what's happening to our company? We have grown every year organically. We started this out of our apartment. Like, what the is happening to our company? And we're just watching it, just like, y'all, it was just like terrible. So I really ramped up all of our offshore people. You know, some people, this was in 2022. This is when like economy is crazy. People are like, what's going on? People, like I had a guy, he was making, I don't know, 50 grand a year. And he was like, yeah, I need to quit. And I'm like, why? He's like, I can't afford to live in Austin anymore. And he had a roommate.
What?
And he was like the most normal dude. Like he wasn't extravagant at all. And I was like, oh, this is a crisis. Like Austin is facing an affordability crisis.
Yeah.
Like to ask a small business to pay, you know, he was the delivery manager. So he predominantly worked on his computer. So we outsourced that role. We hired a delivery manager overseas for like, you know, I don't know, 20 grand a year. It was like less, you know,
Wow.
more than 50 plus taxes and stuff even made it even cheaper because we weren't paying this employment taxes and everything here. You had to pay it over there. So anyways, at the final hour, our SBA loan didn't come through. And so we just made the decision to take the money out of the account, pay everybody their final paycheck. We didn't want to risk continuing burning through more cash, screwing our people over.
Wow.
It was never an option for us.
Man.
So we found out on December 2nd that our loan didn't come through. On December 4th, we cried and told the whole team. They cried. And by December 7th, we had cleaned out, auctioned off our equipment.
Wow.
It was just like that. It was just like that. And we took all the food that we had in our facility across the street to a chicken distributing plant. They just distributed chicken, and they had like all this fridge space that they didn't use because it used to be a chicken processing plant. They're not a processing plant anymore. So they just had just incredible storage. And we were like, can we pay you monthly fee to like keep our food here? And that was what we did. We used all that food in January for all the customers who had prepaid that we couldn't refund. We made it out of our home. We would just go to the chicken place and get all the ingredients and bring it home, and made thousands of more meals out of our home for people who had prepaid for January, because we didn't want to screw over our employees and we didn't want to screw over our customers. That was like really important in how we closed that chapter.
Wow.
And so it was really cool. It was full circle. We finished how we started out of our apartment. We closed the door on December 7th, look back at Instagram, reminiscing. nostalgia, realized that we had actually started the business on December 8th. Like our first Instagram post was December 8th. So we did exactly 6 years to the date.
That is so crazy.
So crazy. Then a month or two later, the banking crisis in San Francisco happened. And we realized that our broker was using a bank out of San Francisco to get our SBA loan. So we found out why our SBA loan didn't come through because we didn't have any answers there. Then my husband starts working for the tech company that hosted our platform, and he confirms that they, in fact, did not do their due diligence, and we were not the only company that suffered from this. So a lot of
Holy
answers
cow.
after the fact, so much peace. And,
Wow.
you know, when it came time for me to like ask myself, like, what am I going to do? The first thing was like, I find good people. Like, that's all I knew. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? I find good people. I was like, all right, I'm going to go find good people for other businesses. That's all I knew. And I was a headhunter. So I would just headhunt. But there's compliance issues with that. Employment law, tax law. And if you don't know it, you can get in big trouble. If you're not following it, you can get in big trouble as a business owner. So last year, headhunted, it was keeping me up at night. So January, we switched over to a full service agency. So now we handle all the tax and employment stuff. And that's how we service businesses. We're kind of like a plug-in HR now for the virtual people that we find.
First of all, that's insane. That's that took the wind right out of my sails. That was
Which
like a gut
part?
punch. The business closing part. So fast. And it's so disgusting to me how the reason your SBA loan didn't come through was because a big bank failed that the government bailed out. And yet the small business is the one that got screwed over.
So, okay. So here's the, I want to say this because I actually told someone who was in banking in San Francisco, I told her this story and she was like, well, that doesn't make sense because the reason that the banks failed and this is what happened. And I was like, okay, I'm just telling you what I know. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know. I shouldn't say that. My husband would say, don't say that. He would say, don't say that. Okay, I'm taking it back. I'm not versed in the financial sector at all. But what I do know is that the bank that denied us without any reason, they didn't give us any reason. They literally just said no, was the same bank that went over under 2 months. And we met all their criteria. Silicon Valley Bank, SVB.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what bank he was using when he was applying because he's a broker. Like the broker is just telling you like, okay, we need this. Okay, we need this. You meet all the criteria. Okay, just like, I don't care what bank. Bank in Nigeria. I need a loan, like I don't give a I need a loan.
That is so wild.
All the banks to use. He chose Silicon Valley Bank.
Well, he chose it. This is why, because we were not in the black. So you had to go through a San Francisco-esque bank who was startup friendly.
Huh.
So, but we still met all the criteria, right? So like we blew their revenue out. Like they were like, you have to have $20,000 a month, something like that. I'm like, okay, we're a multi-million-dollar company. We have that credit score. Okay. Like we met everything. And they just said no. So I think there's something, I think that they knew there was trouble in paradise, but because this was December, it happened in March. It was just a few months. Like, I think they knew there was something going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I just want to say that
Yeah.
because you're right. And somebody who's going to listen to this is going to have that nerdy response that girl did. And I just want you to know, like, I know that nerdy response. I can't explain that nerdy response, but this is what I do know.
That your business of 6 years, that was an amazing business. Giving so much value to people. Oh, that kills me.
I hope so.
That kills me.
You know that we still get emails. We haven't had a site up.
I saw that on your story.
I haven't had a site up in, I don't know, 16, what is that? Almost 18 months? I don't even know. They're writing us and saying, I'm clicking on the website and I can't order our website. Like, what website are you on? And my husband's like, why don't you ask? I'm like, I kind of don't want to ask. I kind of just want there to be some mystery website out there where people still go and try to order prep to your door.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like a ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the
Every
doors
Every
open
month.
up to your door.
When we closed, we were getting it every week. Every week we got people asking, and we're like, "Hey, I can't order."
That's what I'm saying is you grew organically that much because you had such a good product. People tell other people about good stuff. That proves that you
Yeah.
had such a good business.
Yeah, I think it's that. Remember how I was saying like the universe took me out of teaching and the universe brought me back to the States and the universe, like, I think that the universe just closed that business. Like I genuinely think like my husband and I are way happier now. So
Yeah.
I just have to trust that.
I bet you got a lot of time and energy back. That's for sure. Stress.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I get to do it differently. We get
True.
to do it differently.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Clean slate.
Yeah.
It's
True.
like someone asks me something and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you think you have to say yes to everything. Nope, I'm not doing that.
Mm.
Well, is there anything you feel we might have missed that was a big part of your story? Or do you feel like there's a piece of advice for us, our generation, on your heart, if you haven't said it already?
I mean, I will say that if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, I know it's very scary. The thing that put me into entrepreneurship was I heard a quote, leap and the net will appear. So you're on the side of a building, you don't see a net. You don't see that taking that jump into entrepreneurship is actually going to be good for you or safe or any of that. And it's like our job is not to know the how. Our job is to get very, very clear on what we want. And I believe that the universe will respond. And maybe it's not going to give you the response that you want, but you just keep getting clear on what you want and it will guide you there. That's truly what I say is like, just do the thing and suck at the thing and get embarrassed and cry on stage. Tell them you were incarcerated. All those things, like just do it and, you know, just get it out. You just got to get it out. Like, don't hold it in, whatever it is. That's honestly my advice. Because we talked about what I think of the 20s. I think the 20s are kind of a grind.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but also like, just do it.
Nike.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, Nike. I didn't come up with that.
We don't want to give out any free sponsorship.
Yeah,
Free
no,
advertising.
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
not.
Nike, you should sponsor
Not
us.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. We don't want to give them more than they can handle.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.
This was so cool. This was so cool.
You're our first guest in like,
A while.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like a month or two.
Because
Or
we've been without a studio and it's just been so difficult to
yeah.
Was
even
this
just do
the
a
setup?
podcast.
Was this the same setup at their studio?
No.
No.
Where'd y'all get all this furniture?
Salvation Army, baby. Last Saturday, like 3 days ago.
Yeah. This is
No
Facebook
way.
Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace. I mean,
Okay, how much did y'all spend on this total?
oh,
Tally it up right here.
Total?
okay.
Like equipment?
No,
Every- or okay, like just studio
the
set, like
furniture. Just the furniture.
Oh, all this was like $200.
Yeah.
Apparently, this couch is like
this is
some lady-
nice.
Some lady told us that this is like worth $3,000.
This
like
is
back in
nice.
its like
in its
heyday. Yeah. I think it's a solid piece.
Y'all, this is very, very like this you can get anywhere, right?
Yeah.
This is such a find.
Dude, right?
Such a
Zach
find.
picked it out. He spotted it.
Dude.
Zach with a C.
Zach
With
with
a
a
K.
CK.
Yes.
CK.
Yeah.
Sorry. CH.
Yeah.
I meant to say H. I screwed it up. Zach with a CK.
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
that he made up.
But I mean, like one of the cameras we're using and our big light we borrow from our friends who let us use their studio to start the podcast.
Yeah.
We literally borrow it almost every single time.
This thing?
That one
light
and then that
and-
camera, one of the cameras.
This one, yeah.
And then we bought one of those, and then I have another one that we use when we can't borrow that one. We just
Yeah.
kind of piecemeal it together. Well, we will link up all of your stuff in the show notes just in case anybody wants to
Yeah.
say what's up.
Yeah. So because my social media is private, you're not going to get anything there. But LinkedIn would probably be the best place.
Okay.
So I just wanted to because I saw that on your
Mm-hmm.
intake form or something, like
Mm-hmm.
link us or, like share.
LinkedIn.
But
got it.
I took all my business stuff off my Instagram. I
Yeah.
have it's just very personal now. And
Yeah,
so I just don't, and it's private. And so it's just not, I don't think it's going to do anything for you. But LinkedIn, I have a decent following there.
You do. Yeah.
So
You're kind of a big deal. I don't know if you realize that, but
I got, when Prep to Your Door was mentioned on Forbes,
yeah.
I was mentioned on Forbes. That was when I got a ton of,
Oh,
it
okay.
was ad. Because there are people who monitor that, they read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if we said that you ended up getting your master's from Harvard in journalism. Did we say that? We just glossed over that. That's not a big deal. What?
But I did say that I went to Harvard. I did say
You
that.
said that, yeah, but you finished. You got your master's. See what I mean? It's casual. She's like, yeah, I went to a summer class at Harvard. People do that apparently, and I just got accepted. I met my husband, and no, that's really cool. That's really cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So
Cool.
anyway, catch her on LinkedIn if you want her business help with offshore launch. We'll put her email or something like that below. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on Insightful Experience. Peace.
I want to talk to you. Not now, later. No, now.